Hey, Gloucester Township. Welcome to the GT Observer podcast. I'll never get the old name out of it.
I know, right? It's so hard.
Man, I'll tell you what. Every time I see the intro now, after the indictment news, I'm like, man, we were so spot on.
Dude, I love that intro. We've had it for a while. I know if you guys have seen it, but it's so spot on, and it's like we've known it. We've been talking to you guys about this, and it's like, where'd all the money go? Who's in charge? All that stuff. It's
going so deep into the weeds, and I was like, most people probably won't understand all these characters and stuff like that.
That's what we're here for.
And then the news came out, and I was like, and then the week after the news came out, I saw the intro, and I go, oh, we were so good on that. We were so good on that.
All right, folks. Well, anyway, today we are here talking about the June 24th.
June 24th.
Council meeting that happened in Gloucester Township. And I'll get into that later on. But anyway, do you want to kick it off here with where we're at?
Yeah. So we kicked the whole thing off by there was an amendment to the agenda. It was a mistake. Apparently, Timber Cove is going to receive funds for some park work.
It was on there as Taylor Ave. It was a mistake.
Not Taylor Ave. So
one of our councilmen actually lives in Timber Cove, so we got to move the money over there. Our bad.
Oh man.
So
we're
we
doing some favors, huh?
Yeah.
So this poor kid's just sitting on a curb right now in Taylor Ave.
They're like, what's going on with ours? We just have duct tape holding up the rust that's going on
park
over there.
Here, and now there's nothing.
Yeah, but we have a councilman that lives over in Timber Cove that he needs to tell
everybody over there playing pickleball, and he's just like, this is great, isn't everybody? And then nothing. Yeah,
hey.
Sorry, folks.
But yeah, so do we have a clip for that right here? Should we play clip one?
An amendment to Resolution 2406-248. That was inserting a special item of revenue in the budget for Taylor Avenue. That is incorrect. It's for local recreation improvement grant for the reconditioning and repurposing of courts at Timber Cove Park. Whoops. So that is for Timber Cove Park for Resolution 248.
All right. So yeah, we had that changed a little bit. There was also something that had to be pulled off of the agenda because there were some questions around it, which I'm always happy to see, like when something is pulled off of the agenda.
Yes.
It's not so the way that those all work. Just for people that don't follow along, like council is supposed to be getting this agenda from like the mayor's office or the administration, whatever you want to call it, and say, these are the things we want you guys to approve because we need to move forward on this.
Yep.
Council is supposed to check and be the balance to say, what is this? You never told us anything about this. And so they're supposed to question the administration. So there's a check and balances, right? So when things are pulled off the agenda, I get all fuzzy and say, this is how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
Someone is supposed to check and have questions around it, whether they got the answers ahead of time. A lot of times, and to be fair, I'm sure that things are asked ahead of time, answered. They get an answer and they're like, okay, I don't have enough questions to not approve it, or you know what I mean, enough around it. But for whatever reason, this particular thing, the council president decided to pull it from the agenda. So I could be completely wrong of the motives or whatever behind it, but I just like that this is how it's supposed to happen, people.
I thought it was important for one reason. Let's hit the clip and then we'll discuss it.
Yeah.
Resolution 242, authorizing the treasurer to cancel grant balances. I spoke to the business administrator today, and I'm requesting when we get to the consent agenda if we could have that table. I have some questions that I need answered by the CFO and also our auditor that I wasn't able to get answered before tonight's meeting. So I asked for to table that when we get to the consent agenda.
So yeah, that's pulled off. That's what's supposed to happen.
And I thought, man, great. Okay, great. You're doing what we've asked. You're doing what we've asked, and you're doing things that we've criticized you for not doing. But it's almost kind of like you did this amazing project, and then you forgot to bring it to school. Because it got to the point where I was like, all right, man, what was the question? Like, let us know, but let us know what your thought process here is of what questions you had and what you're kind of waiting on.
And that's the part that drives me nuts about government in general. Like, it's like nothing can be discussed in public. But it should be all transparent, and we could have a lot of discussions. We have workshops, right? Workshop meetings are supposed to be held so that the public can come discuss their side. You can hear their feedback. We can say, hey, this is why we're even bringing it up. Whatever those cases are. And all the time, those workshop meetings get canceled. And canceled. And canceled. And it's just... But at least there's some sort of a question. I don't know what it is or why it is, but at least it happened that something got pulled off.
Yeah, it reminds me way back of when we were talking about some things that, like, I guess Public Works needed. And one of the councilmen said... I asked a lot of questions about some of the equipment they needed, and I think it was Sam Sweet said, "How did you answer? How did you ask those questions?" He goes, "I just called them," and I was like, come on, man! If you had emailed them and you had the paper trail, you could show us. You could show us your work, and we'd be like, damn, that guy's really doing some work for us." So this is just a situation where I was like, hey, thank you for holding that off till you got some answers. But man, look, show your work. Show your work because that just makes it better. That makes you look better. It doesn't. It gives us some information too, but it makes you look better. And look, if you look better, the people are going to. Well, people are probably going to continue to vote for you no matter what you do.
Yeah,
But hey, you might gain some more supporters too. So I mean, it's a great idea. I know if I were elected and. If things were here were truly like 50-50, right? And I got elected because people believed in me, not just because I was part of some party or machine or something like that. I would want to show every bit of work that I did to kind of validate why I'm sitting up there.
How'd you get to that answer? Kind of thing.
I would want to validate why I'm sitting up there. I think it's a great opportunity for them to do that if that's that comes up again.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, we move on to the public portion of the agenda where people are able to ask questions about what agenda items they have, and nobody had any questions on the agenda.
Yeah, boring agenda, huh?
Yeah, it wasn't not a there was no fireworks or anything like that.
No individuals there that just have to ask a question about every single thing and how something's worded.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
there was an individual missing.
So then we moved on to there was a second reading for a bond ordinance in the sum of $69,000 for a park improvement at Laurel Park and Woods Edge.
Yeah, the only thing I thought about that was like, all right, if it's park improvements, wouldn't that just be on the capital budget, and then we just do those because we know? But now I guess we're just gonna borrow the money now for. I don't know. Some random park improvements. Like, I don't know why spend the money. Is it when I always see stuff like park improvement stuff, I always wonder about how much could we get done too what if people just volunteer to do some stuff too? Rather than just paying some people to do some stuff too.
I hear you. In doing that park tour thing that I did, there's a lot of equipment that a volunteer couldn't fix. Like with people have posted online before about like gaff tape or duct tape, kind of like covering up. Like, okay, there's a corner here that has some sharp edges. Maybe it's rusted a little bit. We'll cover it up. It's like put lipstick on a pig for a little bit. I understand. They're fixing the immediate
power
problem.
Tools and buzz off some rust and take some sharp parts out.
Well, you're right, and I'll get into that in a whole nother. We have a couple other podcasts that we're doing here. I was
digging my sewer system out here for my HOA the other day because I didn't want to pay people to do it, so I went out there and chose to dig it out myself.
It's just insane.
Look, people can do that. Like there's people. Look, we got 60,000 people in this town. There's people out there that are probably just gonna be like, hey, I'd rather just be able to help out than put this burden on other people.
That's true, but a lot of contracts for people that we can just pay government money, that's taxpayer money to people, that happens all the time. Either way, whatever, this particular project, we approved $69,000 to be borrowed for what was it called? Laurel Park and Woods Edge.
Yeah.
So we moved on to Ordinance 2416 changes the curfew, which was a big topic that
This was
held before this meeting, right?
The result. This is the result of GT Day.
Correct.
And what happened to GT Day, and if you've I don't know if you've been under a rock since GT Day.
You've been under a rock,
yeah, 500 kids from mostly
Neighboring
from somewhere
towns.
else came in and started fights and caused a whole big thing on GT Day. And
as a result of that, there was some legislation that was proposed. Listen, what do they say? You never let a good crisis go to waste, and that's exactly what they did. We have an entire podcast coming up about that, so we'll get into it a little bit deeper. This particular ordinance, though, changed a couple of things around the, what do you call them? The repercussions of breaking an ordinance type of,
it's an amendment to to what we currently have in the code
curfew.
book.
But it didn't change the curfew times. It just changed things that make you violate the curfew.
Yeah.
Next is the ordinance of first reading and introduction. There will be a hearing at the second reading. Next is the ordinance of first reading and introduction. There will be a hearing at the second reading. Ordinance 0-24-16, ordinance amending Chapter 45 of the Code of the Township of Gloucester, entitled Curfew of the Code Book of the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, and State of New Jersey. What is highlighted in this ordinance is the responsibilities of parents and guardians. That it should be unlawful for any parent or guardian or any adult person having custody, care, or control of a minor child under the age of 18 knowingly permit that child to loiter, idle, wander, stroll, play, or remain in or about public street, highways, roads, parks, playgrounds, public buildings, places of amusements, entertainment, or places of business conducted for profit within the Township of Gloucester. If that person's found guilty of violating a fine of not less than $100 and not more than $1,000, or up to 90 days of community service at the discretion of the judge. A second offense is a fine of up to $1,000 and/or community service of up to 90 days. And if both the juvenile and the juvenile's parents or guardian violates this chapter, they may be required to perform community service.
So it's for loitering. Okay.
So, at first I was like, "Damn, this is what we need. We need to make I've always thought we need to make parents more accountable, because this comes down to parenting, I think." But at the same time, when I went back and listened to it today, I was like, so what they're doing wrong in here, this is for loitering. And I thought, what do you do in a park? Like, what if you just want to go to the park to sit on a bench and read a book? Essentially, you're kind of just loitering, right? There's a lot of things that are, I mean, when you're a kid, sometimes you just hang out, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot to say on this topic, and I'm going to hold a lot of it for the other podcast, because this could get into a long conversation, and like you said, like there's a lot. Loitering is an interpretation of what someone is doing.
Yeah,
if you don't have a purpose there, if your purpose is to read a book, you're not loitering. If your purpose was to meet up with friends, there's no, that's a purpose. Like, there's who's determining what the purpose is?
Yeah.
If other things, this is getting into
that definition has bothered me since I was a teenager. And it was something that stood out. I mean, I used to think about, like, when I used to hang out at the Echelon Mall. For you young people, that actually used to be a mall, Echelon. But that's essentially just went there to loiter, right? And when I saw that again, I just was like, I agree with what you're doing here. I just hate that it's loitering.
So yeah, you're right. I think it's the intent of what you're trying to accomplish is admirable.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But the way you're going about it is unconstitutional to a degree. Like there's I don't know. It's
yeah.
Again, let's get into it in another podcast. You guys can just tune in later on. We will go over a little bit more about the curfew in the township, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we moved on to another $2 million in notes that we had.
Yes,
borrowed,
there was a thing where there was mention of this. It was $2 million plus dollars and it was kind of a. Let's play the clip first.
This is a hangover clip from the past that it just will haunt us for the next few years.
Resolution 250, resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, New Jersey, authorizing the issuance and sale of up to $2,857,000 of refunding bond anticipation notes of the Township of Gloucester, New Jersey, making certain covenants to maintain the exemption of the interest on said notes from federal income taxation, and authorizing such further actions and making such determinations as they may be necessary or appropriate to effectuate the issuance and sale of the notes.
May I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I will second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Mignon?
Yes.
Mrs. Albright Troxell?
Yes.
Mrs. Grace Love?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Unanimous. I love how you keep those in there, like as if people don't know everything that they vote is unanimous.
And I'll guarantee you that not everybody knew what this was about, because this took a bit of digging, a lot of texting different people, and a lot of texting pretty knowledgeable people from our town, from other towns, to find out what exactly this was talking about. And because we didn't want to cover it and say the wrong thing, and I'm still not 100% certain if it's the right thing, but
I do recall this after understanding the explanation that we received, and it dates back to when there was how do you word that? Self-finance, for health insurance? Self-insured, right. So we just pay what the actual cost is instead of paying a dollar amount per person, for a health insurance policy. There was a shortfall that we, saw coming, or whatever the case was, that somebody was having, and an employee of the township was having some sort of medical thing that was like, all right, it's going to cost us more money, so we need to borrow for that. Somehow we borrowed for 7 years, right? Somehow we have to go ahead. What do you?
So apparently it's $4 million. It was a $4 million shortfall, but so we take a note out on that, which is a short-term loan, and then the notes get converted into bonds if we do a long-term loan.
Right.
And in this case, though, so every year for 7 years, we're basically just going to take the prior year's notes, and then we're going to re-borrow them for like a seventh less than the prior year.
Right. So the prior year was already paid off, so now you're going to borrow less the next year, and then the following year the same thing. You're going to borrow less the 2 years that you borrowed, and
So we're not really going to long-term
why?
finance this.
I don't know.
We're not going to bond it. The bonds are like 10 years, I believe. So we're not going to bond it, but we're going to re-borrow that money the next year with, I guess, whatever we paid off. We're going to just re-borrow it. Because I guess that note only lasts the year before there's interest involved.
Everyone's glazing over at this point. We don't know. You don't know. It's just, why would they do it that way? Who knows? There was a reason. We don't know what the reason is.
We did our best.
Yeah. Sorry, folks. Here's another one to glaze over.
But there's 7 folks up there that just were like, yeah, fine.
Yeah,
I don't think, I don't have confidence that they all went through it.
If they did ask a question, their answer was, we have to do it. And you're like, oh, okay, we have to.
I thought about messaging, just reaching out and messaging and say, hey, can you explain this to me? But I knew that I was like, I don't want to put anyone on the spot. So, all right.
Yeah. All right, so we move into the Egov section where people are able to send in a question to the local government and find out answers to their questions. Apparently this week there were 5 Egovs, as they're called, that were sent in, all from the same person, all around the same. We've already gone over this kind of topic in the past, so we'll kind of not breeze over it, but we'll go over it. There was Fred Hill from, it doesn't say, so MUA, his area of questioning was around the MUA and the actual land there, not so much the sale of the sewer system. Had to do with the land, and it's a compost site. Who Mr. Hill claims that there are oil-soaked leaves that drain into Timber Creek. There were questions around it polluting the Timber Creek, and the DEP had come out because of these claims that he made to the township. So they had the DEP out there, and DEP found nothing wrong with what was going on on the site.
Kind of in all these emails, it was basically three main points. The grass clippings and the leaves are polluting Timber Creek because they were on a road at one point, and roads have oil, and you're putting it over there, and the other oil's draining to the creek. And then he said, hey, I've got questions about, there's supposedly a multi-use trail going through this thing. Like, where's that going to be? How's this all going to figure into it? And then, oh, by the way, there's bald eagles there, too, so you can't really do anything that disturbs the bald eagles.
Right, so it was a lot of things around one particular property.
Yeah.
Right?
So President Mercado responded and said, look, the DEP's been out. They've done an investigation. They have not found any wrongdoing on the MUA. And it kind of started making me think, too. I went through, and actually, I pulled a great clip about the whole production over at the MUA, or over what they did with the leaves. I forgot to put it in our thing.
Joe, you're fired.
No, there's a great.
This was on Glowtwip or on YouTube or something?
It was on. Oh man, where? Yeah, it was. I found it digging through. It was a great clip about what the operation that they do over there, and it is not.
Right. Well, we're delaying the show here. There's another question that Mr. Hill had was around a trail, like a bike trail or a travel trail that would go around that property. If you guys recall from a former podcast that we did, I'm not exactly sure when it was, a week or so ago, I had video of the culverts that go underneath of the kind of this trail that he's referring to. And there's signs that say like public access, and you can see the beginnings of what could be a trail. And there was a question that was asked of saying, was there ever plans to have a trail that maybe could go back along the Timber Creek, and actually maybe people could go see the eagle's nest and see them flying around, see them landing and getting fish for their chicks, taking them up to the nest and all that. That question was asked, I think it was 2 council meetings ago, and they kind of just blew it off saying, like, we don't know anything about these trails that you're talking about. His point was that, no, you had back when you were, I think, what was it called, the data center? You had plans for a data center, and along that same lines, you had plans for a trail that went along there. I don't know exactly what he's referring to. I'm sure you can Google it and find out if there were old plans, but we weren't able to find actual plans for this thing, but he claims that there were.
So I tried figuring this out and to see where this whole facility is and where this might be. So what I kind of narrowed down was, and this is going to be probably like an enormous pain in the butt here, but this area down here is where he's talking about. So I guess this area right here that's the area that all the leaves and the grass go.
Okay.
And this is all kind of the wetlands that he's talking about. Okay. There are no trails in this area. So this is our trail map here, and you can see it's proposed trails and existing trails. There's no trails in that area that are proposed or anything. So I couldn't find anything.
So this map is what you found. Where did you find this? This is on our township's website as like the current trails map?
Yeah, it was. If you just Google, I So I think I just Googled Gloucester Township multi-use trail. The very first thing that comes up
is Camden County bicycle / multi-use. So
yeah, so this and this is showing stuff like bike paths on like Garwood Road, and I know for certain we don't have a bike path here. So
right,
this
so
is
they're
stuff
proposed. There's like a connector trails, a couple different things, right?
Was proposed that it has not yet happened, and there's nothing in that area that I can find is proposed. So
right,
I mean
so this guy's he has claimed that, but he also has some sort of proof in his mind of a past trail proposed. So it could have been taken off of this list here, just to be fair to what his claim around it is. Either way,
well, yeah, he was referencing some stuff from years ago too. So maybe at some point
we with the data center, which doesn't exist.
Boasted about like we're going to do this great thing over here. But as far as I can see, it is not currently proposed. So maybe if it was, that got scrapped, but it's not on there right now. So couldn't find it. And I did come across a video that goes into
a little explanation of our what's it called, ecological center? Or
I tell you, I learned a lot from this video and what we've got going on over. So let's check this out. It's only like 2-minute video, I think.
Mayor, here at the Gloucester Township Ecological Center with Director Glenn Engelbert. There's so many things that are happening here. We wanted to tell you all about it. Glenn, thanks for joining us. And what do you do here at the Ecological Center?
Well, we compost leaves and grass and produce organic compost for sale.
So when our residents rake their leaves to the curb and we pick them up, they're delivered here to our Ecological Center. And what is that process? How does that work?
After the leaves are formed into windrows, they'll sit dormant for the winter time until the spring grass collection process begins, and we'll start mixing grass clippings with all these windrows. The backhoe turner, that's our most important piece of equipment. This aerates the windrows, and we do this pretty much every 2 weeks. When the windrows stop generating heat from the turning process, we move the windrow into the curing process.
So mix it all together, monitor it, temperature and weather. Once it stops generating heat, it goes to the curing process. It sits there and further breaks down.
Right.
And then what do you do after that?
The screener is the final stage before we sell the material. It takes out any residue or trash before we sell it to nurseries and landscapers. It takes about 1.5 years from incoming the leaves and then selling it out the door.
So Glenn, if we didn't do this, where would all the grass and the leaves go?
It would go to the landfill, which would cost the taxpayers a lot of money, but it is required by the state that we process and recycle leaves.
So are there any other facilities in Camden County like this?
No, we're the only one that serves all of Camden County.
So this is saving taxpayers money, it's good for the environment, it's shared services with 23 other towns, all done here at our Ecological Center.
That's correct.
That's great work that you and the team does here, so really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I was kind of impressed by the whole thing that we're taking this all in. We're recycling stuff, and then we're selling it off too. Like I thought that we were just doing this and then just giving away like free mulch. And that was kind of my question too. Was what kind of money's going into just giving away free mulch? We're selling the stuff off, so it's to me it's kind of
I don't know
program.
how much. I don't know the economics around everything. If we actually make money, lose money, but this guy,
even if we're breaking even.
Yeah,
we're not putting anything into landfills. We're putting it right back out there. My question too earlier when this whole discussion came up was when we're talking about all the leaves and grass that is collected every week. Well, if we didn't put it there, then where do you expect it to go? It's got to go.
He said
somewhere.
that video. It goes to the landfill.
Yeah, we don't want it to go to the landfill.
To
so
landfill.
I look, there's toxins in everything. It's just it's got to go somewhere, right? I don't know how bad it is, and look, if the DEPs come around and they've checked the water in the area, they say that it's okay. Look, it's New Jersey, so I don't trust anybody. But I kind of just, I kind of just figure like The DEP is kind of one of those things that I think would kind of maybe blow a whistle if there was an issue.
Yeah,
So
I can see that.
that's
Yeah. But in addition to all the trail, conversation, he brings up the Bald Eagle again. And President Mercado responds to Fred, basically just telling him the DEP came by, saw nothing wrong. There's no trail proposed, which we kind of showed you, that plan. And that basically told him, Bald Eagles, while, a pretty interesting thing, that's not our venue that we're supposed to be.
Yeah, it's not something the
overseeing.
council
That's-
does.
Right. That's
I
not
guess
council.
I guess it's something that the environmental protection would come in and look at and determine whether or not it's an issue, and they haven't. So it's not something that we can.
They're not taking
We can't ask our council members to climb trees and look for eagles' nests.
Right.
But look, it's not too
can
much
ask.
to ask though. Hey, maybe you guys can reach out to the DEP and see if you've done any studies on bald eagles, what you found. If there are none there, just come back, give us a report that says there are none there, and then
right. Which we have found that there are bald eagles, and we know that Mr. Hill has reported them, and it's now an active nest on their report. Either way, we move into the public portion on any item. And last week, I think we went over this in the podcast. There was one council member who is running for re-election this year, decided she was going to tell the current MUA. Is he the president of the union or the rep from the union?
he is a shop steward for the union.
Shop steward, that's what I meant. Yeah. So he's kind of berated last time, or put kind of try to put in his place and say, well, if I were actually the shop steward, I would have went to the union, or I would have asked for a meeting with administration. And he kind of rebuts all that and says, I did that. What are you talking about? I know that's what you say you would have done. I did do exactly what you said you would have done. So where are we here? And it kind of brings in proof. It's bring the receipts like we do here. It's
Yeah, and I guess the Helen Albright Troxell, councilwoman, was the one that kind of said, "Well, hey, did you do any kind of follow up to get any kind of meeting started?" And this is
Right.
his response to that.
Good evening, Council. Anthony Calabrese, Blackwood.
Good evening.
What I want to talk about tonight, I'm going to address to Mrs. Albright Troxell about some comments that were made last meeting. This is a quote from you. As a former union president, in reference to somebody coming up and speaking about why nobody's come and spoken with the employees about everything that's going on. As a former union president, what I would have done is I would have had the shop steward call and request a meeting to find out what's going on. That's what I would have done. It's not our responsibility. I always took it on as a union, and it's the union's responsibility to find out what's going on and request a meeting with management to find out information, and that's what I suggest they do. So this is a letter from March 28th. This letter is to serve as an official request to a sit-down meeting with you to Director Gabrielle Mosquera, who is the new director of the sewer utility. If your schedule allows it, I would like to have a meeting on Monday, April 1st, 2024. Thank you for your time. Granted, March 28th to April 1st, I realize, short time period. Okay. Didn't get a response to that one. This is.
Call and ask her that when she would be available. for you to
So
meet with her?
so with this letter, some sort of response. I mean, wouldn't
anything. Come
if
on.
you get a
You
letter,
what was right by sending the letter.
right? Wouldn't you, if you get a letter, wouldn't you respond and then we continue the conversation about the schedule or something like that?
Right.
So I didn't get any type of answer for that one.
All right, so that part I thought was the most annoying. The guy sends a letter to Gabby Mosquera, who is now the head
The
of
director, right?
Yeah, and asks her for a meeting. Doesn't get any response, and when he gets back from one of our council members is, "Did you call? to follow up.
Did you follow up with that
Look-
email? How about I sent the email? Why is she not following up
Yeah.
with me? What?
You know, what's next? Did you go to a house? I don't know. Yeah.
Well, how often do you hear when it's like, you show up to a council meeting talking about something on the agenda and they're like, you should have emailed me first. Why do I need to email you about something that's on the agenda? Why does he need to follow up with when he's asking for a meeting about something that potentially multiple people are losing their union jobs over or something? Why does he need to do that? Why is that onus on him to
Also,
do that?
if she's the director, right, then she holds some kind of power. So, I mean, think about this outside of government terms. If this is a private company that you work for, and you want to speak to somebody about potentially losing your job, you don't really want to harass them.
Well, true.
So,
yeah.
you send them a nice email saying, hey, look, we'd really like to talk about this thing that you're doing here. You don't want to, you don't want to harass them. So, yeah, I don't know that it's, and like he said, hey, this should have gotten some kind of response. And
So
it didn't.
he doesn't get a response, and he sends in a second response, right?
Yep.
He sends in a second request. Let's play the clip.
Director Gabrielle Mosquera, April 15th, 2024. The reason for this letter is to request a meeting with you. This is my second attempt at trying to schedule a meeting with you. I would appreciate a response. Thank you for your time. I had Marlene Herinio, who is the administrative secretary of the sewer utility. She came to me and asked if I can put into a letter the topics I would like to discuss.
That's fine.
Okay, so yeah, you can send me an email. I'm not going to respond to you, though, until you tell me what it is that we want to talk about.
So, are you telling me that my impression of this, right, is that we've got somebody that is a director of something that knows nothing about it,
Well,
and
that's true.
rather than her sitting down and being blindsided with questions that she can't answer, is going to say, "Hey, could you send me all those questions ahead of time so that I can have
You wouldn't be blindsided if you're aware of what goes on in that department, but if you're not, maybe you'd be blindsided.
She was an assemblywoman right before this. She has nothing to do with any of this kind of work here. So,
Didn't she have like the worst voting record in all of the assembly?
all of New Jersey.
All of New Jersey.
All of New
Oh,
Jersey.
I'm sorry. All of New
The
Jersey,
worst
okay.
record. After the next clip, I'm going to show you some of that too.
Okay.
So he finally gets a response.
All right. So clip 7 here.
The final topic I would like to discuss. Did you know when you accepted the role as the director of the township intended to sell, and why didn't you or anyone else come to speak with us here about the potential sale? We've been kept in the dark since day one, and now we've been left with this information without any idea of what's to come. Sorry. We have several employees here with families to take care of, and they use this job to take care of them. The least that should have occurred was someone speaking to us to discuss what could happen if this sale goes through. Are there any intentions on moving the current employees to other departments, and do they have plans of protecting employees through the sale should it occur? As well as if the sale of the sewer department does not go through, what are the plans moving forward? You might not have the answers for the sales related questions, but someone should come here and explain the thought process behind this to help ease the minds of the hardworking employees of the sewer department. The response to that topic was from Director Mosquera. Finally, you inquired about my knowledge as director of the potential sale. I am not involved with the exploration of the potential sale of the sewer utility system.
Huh.
I don't know about you, man, but that is infuriating.
Oh my God. Is it?
It's infuriating. I'm so mad for this guy because he's just asking some questions and he gets the runaround, and on the third attempt finally gets a response back that says, "Oh yeah, by the way, I don't have anything to do with that."
Oh, and it also says, finally you asked me about my knowledge about it. What do you mean, finally I asked you? How about you could have answered 2 times ago?
Yeah,
This is my
the
third
first
attempt.
email, I'm sorry, I don't have anything to do with that. But also, you're the director, so you definitely have to have some kind of knowledge because you're the director. You're not just like, I don't know, some random supervisor. You're the director. So you got to wonder, like, well, who's this person? This is the director. And if you don't know, this is former assemblywoman for multiple terms, Gabrielle Mosquera, who
She was LD4, I believe, right?
LD4 assemblywoman.
That's us. here in
Who
Gloucester
basically, essentially, the role that Dan Hutchison is in right now was her previous role. She decided not to run again. She ran alongside. She ran or was assembly with Paul Moriarty,
Yeah.
who now moved on to
He's
Senate.
senator. I'm just.
So-
is there a nobody clip? Does he have a?
there is. I don't have it yet. Yeah.
All right.
But
anyway,
I remember hearing about Gabby from previous years when in other elections, and people saying she has the worst attendance record in all of New Jersey Assembly. So I thought before I comment on that I would possibly
let's
look it up here.
Okay.
And that would be so. This article from 2021, when she was an assemblywoman, New Jersey lawmakers routinely skip votes driving demands for reform. So she was at the top of the list here, and she's pictured here. Scroll down to so these 7 members have skipped more than 250 votes. She's at the top of the list. So she has skipped 564 votes. The interesting thing is look, things happen here, but both of our representatives from Gloucester Township are in the 7. Paul Moriarty's here too.
Yep, the guy that said he's a nobody.
Out of all the representatives in all of New Jersey,
So one of them got promoted to a senator from his position as an assemblyman. The other one got promoted from not having to go and have the worst record in all of New Jersey, and is now given a director job with the MUA, which probably pays more money than the LD4 assemblywoman job.
and the thing was before that people had criticized before, because I think she's worked for the township for a while too, while also doing the assembly job, and like the joke around was always that like they just give her a job.
Yeah.
They just give her a job. It doesn't really require anything. Obviously, she wasn't really doing a whole lot of voting on here. But then she quit the assembly, decided not to run again. So she got a township job. And I'm like,
Yeah,
sorry, look,
500 and something votes she missed. Is that what it was?
564 votes.
500. How many? Joe? How many days are in a year?
They said it was because she had triplets, so she had to miss a lot of days. But at the same time, I'm thinking like, okay, look.
Okay, so there is a possibility of resigning, right? And
Well, this goes back to the argument that we had about a council member that stopped showing up too. Look, you are a representative
supposed
of
to be
a
that.
group of people. If you cannot represent them,
cannot
it's your duty
Right.
to leave and let somebody else represent the people. You can't just not show up. So that's the thing.
actually, yes, she can. She proved it to you. She could show up.
She's doing
or she
fantastic.
could not show up.
She's doing fantastic.
She's doing a great job not showing up. That's probably the best job of not showing up I've ever seen in my life.
You know, it's a government salary. I'm going to look it up, and I'm going to be angrier for next podcast because I'm going to find out how much she makes doing absolutely nothing.
I guess it's around 60, 70 grand, something around there. That's what my guess would be. But you can find it out later and let us know.
For sitting for not doing anything. That's a fantastic salary for not doing anything. But yeah, that's these poor and I go back to these poor guys that they're just kind of in limbo because they have no idea what's going to happen.
No one will talk to them.
Their future is in the voters' hands too. So it's
Well, right. It is and it isn't. It potentially could not make its way onto the ballot. That's not in everybody's hands. It's in council hands right now as far as putting that decision on the ballot.
yeah, it's yeah. So
We do have the possibility of it not making it there.
But-
There's enough voices heard. There's enough action taken that they see, hey, we're actually going to lose this thing here. Or we give them a feeling that that's going to happen,
Yeah, and look, if this has fired you up about the whole thing too, by the way, I want you to go to savegtmua.com and just go there. If you want to know when the next meeting is, I believe it's July 26th.
I want to say 4th or 7th.
July.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me.
It's on the website here. If you want to sign for your front lawn to let your neighbors know, like that's the biggest thing right now that's happened so far is that
Yeah, people want to be get involved. And they want to say,
people don't know.
Support.
People don't know. So I know a few people that they do service work for customers all over Gloucester Township, and they've come to my house and they see the signs and they're like,
Yeah.
hey, I've talked to other people and they ask them, hey, what do you think about the sewer thing? And they have no idea what's going on. But then he's talked to other people that have found out because they're like, yeah, I saw the signs around here, and I asked what it was all about.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I realized,
It's a conversation
crap, they're going to
starter.
sell our sewer. So look, you put a sign in your front yard, and lets everybody else around you kind of ask that question, like, what's that all about? It's got the name of the website on there, savegtmua.com.
Yep.
They'll go there, they'll figure out what's going on too, and then hopefully when we vote and we make a good choice.
To save it.
So,
Save our sewer, folks.
yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so Miss Troxell responds to him saying basically, well, I hope she gets back to you.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, I
Leaves it at
kind
that,
of
and
agree.
that's it.
I kind of agree that they should have talked to you about this.
Yeah.
But and Anthony also, I didn't clip this too, but he also asked, look, you all voted to put this thing out there.
Yeah.
Why? Maybe you could have reached out to us.
Right.
And basically, the answer that he got back was, well, we didn't have all the information either, so we couldn't have
Because
approached
we didn't
you.
know the exact answer, we weren't going to talk to you about it. So they can't speak in hypotheticals.
Yeah. All we knew is that somebody proposed this that said, we want to see what this is worth so we could sell it. And council was like, that's all the information that we had. So we couldn't go to the MUA and say, look, you guys are going to lose your jobs. Here's the time when you're going to lose your jobs. Plan on doing something else. Or, hey, we're going to move you over to this department. Council knew none
there's
of
a
that
lot of
stuff.
steps in the way of government. So it's not the easiest answer. I get it.
And Anthony's point here, too, was, look, you had to have done some kind of planning ahead of time. So you had to have thought this through.
Even if it was they were sitting there with a napkin and a pen and just like, hey, we could.
If they're like,
Oh
okay,
my goodness, we could do this.
what if this thing does sell? What do we do with all the employees we have? There has to be some kind of plan made because it's hard to believe that you're just gonna you go, oh crap, we didn't expect it to happen. Fire them all. I don't know, fire them all. Yeah, that's it.
Right.
So,
all right, let's move on here to we had Denise Coyne, a popular guest of the podcast here.
yeah, plenty of
Asked a
people talk about it.
question I think she wants to get killed. Was constantly talking about these, organized crime things. Good on her for having the
talk about
guts.
is organized crime and then trash disposal because usually they're pretty close together. So we'll go to her clip. We'll talk about with the confusion because I've had the same confusion too.
After the last meeting, I had questions regarding our trash contractor. And I was under the impression that our trash contractor was Interstate Waste Services. And so I went and did some research, and the reason I believed it was Interstate Waste Services is because that's what it says on the township website. And it says, starting February 2021, Gloucester Township will be switching to a new waste disposal company, Interstate Waste Services. So that was as of February 2021. And then I went and found the resolution, which gave the contract to Central Jersey Waste and Recycling that was approved January 25th, 2021. So I'm wondering why the resolution was approved for Central Jersey Waste and Recycling, but it was posted on the township's website saying that our trash contractor was Interstate Waste Services.
They share the same address, Ms. Coyne. I believe they are the same company. And on our bill list, the check goes to Interstate. Mr. Cars, you want to add anything to that?
No, you're correct. My recollection is it went from Solterra to Central Jersey to Interstate.
Interstate Waste Services acquired Solterra in May 2022, well after these documents.
At some point, it was Central Jersey.
At some point.
So I had to figure this out because I've seen different trucks come down my street, and I've kind of been like, I don't even know who it was that we got, but it's a different truck all the time. So Central Jersey Waste and Recycling, founded in 1996, started acquiring other waste companies in the area. Mm-hmm. Eventually, I think around 2014, they became Solterra. So I've definitely seen some Solterra trucks.
Yeah, I feel like this whole change started with, I think it used to be Republic, right? And then from Republic it went to Solterra.
That was
either way.
Central
Solterra
Jersey
was early on in this thing. Solterra trucks everywhere. Remember that?
Yeah, I think there's still some Solterra trucks out there. And then in 2022, Solterra was acquired by Interstate Waste Services out of New York.
Right. Which is the ones that she had brought up that had been barred from municipal waste and doing, trash business basically in New York. And she was saying basically, hey, well, since they're barred from New York, guess where they moved? Down here to us. And that's where we are.
Yeah, so they came to New Jersey, started acquiring some companies down here, and now it is Interstate Waste Services, so that is technically the company now that is our waste removal company. She also asked a question that I didn't clip. So originally the bid amount.
Yeah. So when there's a big contract like that goes out to bid, right? So they put it out and say, hey, we're looking for bids. It's called an RFP, request for a proposal, or. So they put these out and say, hey, all the trash companies that exist, whether it's Waste Management, Republic, Solterra, Interstate Waste, whatever it is, how much would it cost us to use you guys for this service? How much would you like to be paid? So their bid came in at, what was it, $19,382,000?
$488.
Yeah, and they said, all right, that's what it cost us. Somehow, from the time that they told us how much they would charge us to do whatever our request for our proposal was, came back that we're now paying them $20,978,000.
Yeah, $1.6 million over the original price that I guess they're over the original bid amount that they gave.
So they said it's going to cost you this, and they're like, nope, we're going to pay you this amount. And somehow along the way, magically, the same 1.6 number becomes a familiar number if you follow along with the the podcast here. $1.6 million is what that exact same company is willing to pay us for a piece of property that we've been allowing Mount Construction to use to park their trucks on, which we've been gaslit and told us there's no trucks on that property. And you go down there and you're like, I'm looking at 100 of them right now.
I didn't even pick that up at all.
You didn't pick that up?
No, I didn't pick that up at all. We just gave them property. We just gave them we gave them a $2 million property because that was originally a $2 million property.
Correct.
Oh, I didn't even think that. I just learned that right now.
Right now on this point.
I just learned it right now.
The difference between those two amounts is $1.6 million, right? Does that not make sense? So that's what she called out and said, wait a minute, we just overpaid them. And why? So Tom Cardis, who's the business administrator, was told her that he would get back to her. And as we sit here on
I reached out
the
and
28th.
Said, what answer did you get? And she said, that's really funny, Joe. I didn't get any answer.
Right.
And I'm like,
yeah, because
okay.
any question that you ask of our government here, they basically tell you to, go kick rocks.
Yeah, so you got to answer. Like, this guy doesn't have any answers. What's he do all day?
Hmm?
What are you doing?
Nothing. Me? Just hanging around.
That's it.
So
that's what we're doing all day. We're just hanging around.
All right, so Ray Polidoro gets up there after this whole thing of her not getting the answers, and what's he asked, Joe?
Yeah, so this goes back to the sewer. So we've got a law firm here involved in working with the New Jersey comptroller, kind of doing this whole deal. And so Ray Polidoro asks about this company. He asks for the name of this law firm. So he's told the law firm's name is Hawkins, Delafield and Wood.
And this is for the sale of the sewer you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, this is for the sale of the sewer. So they're helping out with this. And he says...
He's like, have they given any donations?
Yeah, I think, yeah, pretty much. Because anything that we do business with, right?
Always
gives donations.
Some kind of tie somewhere.
Back.
Somehow.
So they said that, their response was...
I think you've researched this. I think you know the answer.
No, he hasn't. He certainly hasn't given anything to our local campaigns.
Right.
And I thought that was funny. They said, we know he hasn't given anything to your campaigns.
Oh, that was such a burn. Yeah. Hey, Ray.
No.
We know he hasn't given anything.
Because we had to scrape for some money for our campaigns. So, but I searched up and down to see if this company was associated with anything locally. They are not. They are a Washington, D.C. based firm that also operates in New York and Oregon. So they're all over the place. They're not like a local kind of thing.
Nope.
So I don't think they're giving. I don't think this is any kind of like pay to play thing here.
No.
So, nothing
according to
there.
that, yeah. But we did have something. It was new and welcoming this council meeting.
See, you got to take your camera back now.
Huh?
You got to take your camera back in, and then we have to give some kind of presentation here.
Right. Yeah.
So check this out.
Mr. Mercado, I want to thank you for turning up the volume on the microphone.
No, that is the clerk. She has this.
Nothing ceases to amaze me about Nancy. There's nothing
Absolutely.
that she doesn't do that's not
The best.
But thank you for turning up the volume. We even heard Mr. Collier and Mr. Cardis tonight. That's how magnificent that was. Thank you.
So
you're my hero.
I look. Nancy has no idea how difficult it is from home, and especially when you're trying to do a podcast and get the voices, how difficult it is to hear, and how much that's appreciated. I watched this meeting in person. I was there, and we could hear. I sit in the back. We could hear all the way in the back. Most people, even the folks with their microphones pointed out that way.
Oh yeah.
We could still hear
somebody
them.
else was.
It's still
microphone was catching it. Yeah.
Not saying that it wouldn't be great if they just brought the microphones in like where they're supposed to be, but
well, we've had this conversation on here, and I'm not patting ourselves on the back here. I'll give you a pat on the back. But I think our conversations, maybe they're a fan and they've listened to the podcast, and we've brought this up before, saying, why can't we turn up the volume on the microphone? So it had to come from somewhere. She didn't just out of nowhere be like, you know what? I need to turn up the microphones after all these years. Maybe it is. Maybe it's Ray going up there and saying it. Maybe that was it. But I feel like
one day
we should take some kind of credit for it. We've talked about it multiple times about how these microphones are such a nightmare to listen to, and that they intentionally kind of try to hide, is in our opinion.
Maybe one day she's just kind of like sitting there when she's working, and she's like, you know what? She just gets up and starts walking around and looks over and goes,
wait, why is he on 0? I'm going to turn his up.
Let's go to 5.
Wait, let's try it there.
And then just went, idiots. And then walked away. And then boom, she's a hero now, right? Like, that's...
Thank you, Nancy. We appreciate you.
Nancy, come on the podcast.
But, yeah. So, anyway, I think that was pretty much it for the podcast. There was some other stuff that we're not going to worth mentioning, right?
Man. Yeah.
I'm not getting into it, so hopefully you're not.
No, we're not. No, another person came in and started talking about landfills and drugs and kids stabbing each other in schools, and it's there's really no basis for any of it. So we didn't clip it, but I believe that's it. That's it for this week.
We will see you guys soon. We have some other episodes coming out here between the next council meeting. In the meantime, make sure you guys are subscribing to our channel here. Facebook at GT Observer. You have YouTube at Restore Glowtwip. What else we got?
We got videos. We got videos generally come out on Mondays.
Oh yeah, there's my mug up there. I'm in there doing videos in the meantime. Yeah, just subscribe to our channel, guys. We try to keep you as informed as we can.
Your stuff is way more popular than anything I'm ever involved in, too. Yeah.
That's not true.
I'm doing notes for council meetings, and I'm like, 3 people are going to watch this when Keith's going to go in the park and watch somebody kick rocks, and it's going to get 1,500 views. So.
All right. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, folks. See you guys. We'll see you guys in the next. We got a couple more podcasts coming up here on some new topics.
All right.
So,
see you guys
soon.